What's up, everybody? This is episode 57 of Hoops Talk with Dave's Joint. Shout outs to everybody that's shown love to us thus far. For those who haven't seen this episode, check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and IGTV. But without further ado, we have a very, 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 very special guest here today. She was an All-American in high school. Played collegiate basketball at Georgia Tech. For those of you that grew up in the 1990s in New York City, you may know her very well. Today, our special guest is none other than Miss Niesha Butler.
Niesha, come on, man.
Sorry, Niesha Butler.
It's
Niesha,
all right.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, of course, anytime. I'm a fan of yours, like I said. I like all your old stuff, so.
Indeed. So, let's get started. When did basketball first begin for you?
Well, I've been playing. I was one of those kids that was in all sports. So
Okay.
My parents put me in, gymnastics, ballet, dance, track was really my first kind of thing that I did well at. Basketball I loved because what happened was I really liked gymnastics, but one summer I grew 6 inches. So they cut me from the team and it was left. I was basketball.
What league was this?
Yeah, no, it was in a YMCA down, I think 50 some street. And they had a gymnastics team in the city. Yeah. And I loved tumbling and everything. And then one year I just grew and every little girl was like, to my shoulder. And then, my dad taught me how to play basketball. So that's been my thing.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, what part of Brooklyn did you grow up in? And what's the basketball culture like in the borough?
Oh, well, I gotta claim all my boroughs. I actually grew up in Washington Heights. So my first school was Incarnation, and I was my parents worked in a hospital, and we lived right in the Heights, like right there on 170th Street and Broadway. And I went to school there. This was when I was younger. So I lived a few years in Aruba. I lived a couple years there, and then when we came to America, we went to Washington Heights. And then my mom went to Brooklyn, and my dad went to the Bronx. So nice. I lived in kind of every single borough, but I did grow up in Washington Heights.
Okay. So talk about, growing up in the Heights.
Well, the Heights was cool. I mean, the good thing is that my grandmother was in Brooklyn, Church Avenue. So the one thing I liked about Washington Heights growing up is that we were all a community. I don't know how it is now, but Incarnation was the center school. Everybody loved basketball. They treated the women's sports just as important as the men's sports. I got to thank a shout out to a Mr. Ted Stanicky, who was the principal at Incarnation, and he really took to women's sports, and he gave us equal time, got equal coaches, and that's when my love really started. I really played, and they had one game, we had like 80 games. Debs, he was a basketball diehard fan, and then my dad came on the coach, and then the end was history.
How was it playing for your dad?
My pops, I think I have honestly the best parents in the world. They had a delicate balance. They were definitely strict. I'm Caribbean, so my household was really strict. But they did what they did was kind of a rewards type of system. So if I earned something, I did well. But I still had chores. I remember one time I scored like 50, and my mom was like, "You didn't clean the bathroom," and I was like, "But I scored 50," and she was like, "I'm sorry, what?" Clean the bathroom. I'll never forget that because it tone for my childhood. I must have been like, I think 11 or 12, something like that. Wow. But my parents did a great job at being a loving home. They demanded excellence on the court and on the field. And my pops, I didn't have that weird relationship with my parents, whereas that like they pushed me to be good and it was a problem. Like in my house, I was like, of course you're going to be good. So let's just work hard, make us proud and call it a day, So I really had great parents. I have great parents. So
now Aruba, talk about that country, like.
Yeah, Aruba, that's my thing. Aruba and Puerto Rico, that's my isla. Aruba they're completely different. Aruba is real laid back. Puerto Rico is like the Bronx with the beach, pretty much. But Aruba is like, we're called the Happy Island. We're really laid back. You don't really have Arubans here in America because normally they go to Holland. Because we're a Dutch island after we were Spanish. And, it's kind of like my personality. You're real laid back. We have good education. Our history is good. We didn't have a lot of, we didn't have sugar or anything. It was a pretty dry land. So we didn't have, whole slave history like as some other countries do. So we're kind of a mix. Even our language, which is papiamento, which is Spanish, Dutch, and English. It's a mix, of different things. So yeah, I love it. I go back. My family's there. Most of them are in Holland now because they went to the university over there. I was like one of the few that, came to the States. So,
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's another famous person that's part of Aruban, Jim Jones, the rapper.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Is he really?
Yeah.
That's really funny. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't even know that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Cool beans. That'll work.
So when did the nickname Munchkin come about?
I used to play, my first AAU team was Millbank. I had a really cool coach from Guy Hughes, who I was the youngest person that wanted to play. So basically I didn't have a growth spurt for a while. So I was 4'11" for years. I was this little quick little thing. And they used to, I used to just be fast. And so basically, but I wanted to play. I played with the boys, I played with the girls, and Mr. Hughes took me down to Millbank. And they nicknamed me Munchkin because I had these shoes that were huge. I don't know if you remember, I had the Ewings. They're like bright blue Ewings.
Yeah.
Back in the day with this little body. And they were like, yeah, she's Munchkin. And they just called me Munchkin for a while until my name changed until I went to the Rucker. And then they gave me another name. But yeah, that's how Millbank. I played with Millbank before Guachos. So
what was Millbank like back in the day?
Millbank was cool. I mean, I remember I met Rod Strickland there. I met Pee Wee Kirtland there. I met who else? Oh my gosh, I know his name. He's the only guard that led the league in scoring at 6. Tiny Archibald there. I met, like, they used to just come around, and just, it was really cool. I mean, again, I was blessed to have really good coaches and people who ran it, that they just took care of us. Like, we were ladies. They always took us home. We were there late, playing. There was no problems going on. I loved it. It was right in the city. I mean, like, it literally was one of my best friends. We met there, like, I don't know what's going on now, but that was probably some of the best times of my childhood, just playing. You had the Bilaguas down the street coming when you're tired and stuff. So it was great, man. I love New York. I'm New York all day.
So when did Guachos come about?
Oh, so I played in Millbank, and then I was playing for Incarnation, and then I went to private school. I went to Columbia Prep. And when I went to Columbia Prep, I grew 6 inches and I got better. And my dad, who is a Bronx head, was like, you got to play for Guachos, but they don't have a girls team. He was like, don't worry about that. So he goes in and he was like, look, I have a daughter, she can play. And it was this coach named Dave Jones. And Dave looked at me like, I mean, he's one of the best coaches ever. But he looked at me, he's like, get on the line. And he just like, get on the line. And he made me play, and I held my own, and he just started, using me against the boys. Like, she's beating you, what? And the guys kept, so it was kind of like he was using me against the guys. And then I played, and then I worked hard enough that I played on Golden Hoops. And so Guachos had a team in Golden Hoops. It was a girls team. It was the only team they had. It was the Biddies, and I played on that team with the boys. And
wow.
And that was probably, and I remember I played 2 games. I played with the boys. And then after the boys, they have the girls games. And the girls game was, I was about 12 and the girls were in high school. And he didn't play me the first half because I was the youngest one on the team. And they were losing. So they were losing. He was like, all right, well, Munchkin, get in the game. And I scored 28 points, something like that, got MVP. And we almost won, but they didn't give me the ball at the end of the game. That's their fault. Wow. But anyway, yeah, and that's how, I think that tournament put me on the map, because going to private school, I mean, I know the truth. Like, sometimes private school players are private school players, you know what I mean? But when you go and play and earn your stripes, and I earned my stripes that day.
So what were some of your favorite tournaments to play in?
Well, definitely Golden Hoops. I don't know if they have that now anymore, but
yeah, that folded in 1995.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Wow, so right after. Interesting. I played polo grounds. I played hoop. I played a lot of basketball. I don't remember. I would just show up. The Rucker was cool. That was like really fun. Because just the crowd. But if you live in New York City and play as much basketball as I play in, you get that. You know what I mean? You get that everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. I have to say just New York City basketball in general. Because even if you go and play some pickup was cool. And then when I lived in Brooklyn, we used to play, what was that court right underneath the bridge? Oh my goodness. We used to play
Tri-State? Was it on 145th and Lenox?
No, it was right. It was Brooklyn to Manhattan, that bridge. And when you come off it was Brooklyn. It's like right off the bridge, you got a court right there. We used to play in. Oh my goodness. I used to play in Midwood. I used to play, oh my God, Mr. Vance, Channel. Like I used to play a lot. I just like basketball. So maybe that's why I had all my injuries.
So, as far as your high school decision, you know, what made you decide to go the private school route instead of going to a public or Catholic school?
Oh, it wasn't my decision. Again, in my household,
your parents made that choice.
They're like, yeah, I went from public school to Catholic school to one of the elite private schools in the city. Meaning for my parents, I don't think that my parents thought that I was going to be good at basketball. So my mother loved track, you know, my dad was into tennis. So they were like, all right, I guess she's good at basketball. And then I just really liked it. And they just, you know, they followed me, but no, it was always when my parents was about academics. That's like literally in my household is really number one. And actually it's reflected in today and what I do, because it's never was basketball. They're like, you're getting education, you know, because there were certain schools that I won't name that I really want to go to because they were popular during those 90s. And my parents were like, you're not going there. That's it. Like we didn't sacrifice to get you in the school for you to go to this school. So here's are the number of schools that you're about to choose from. Make your choice wisely. Good luck. That's what my parents did. So.
Wow.
Yeah,
my parents didn't give you no choice.
No. I mean, I like got upset because they were wanting me to go to Ivy League. And I was like, no, like, come on. I visited Harvard. I saw them in Columbia. And if you see their gym, Harvard is a great school. Columbia is a great school. Yeah. But if you see their gyms, you're like, what? And then you see Georgia Tech's gym, and you see Duke's gym, and you see all these other people's gyms. You're like, Mm-hmm. So I made a deal with my parents. You know, I was like, I'm not going to Ivy League, but, you know, I'll pick a school amongst the group you give me. And the group they gave me was Duke, Georgia Tech, Stanford, Virginia, Notre Dame. Those are my top at the end. I forget what other schools. Those were the ones I took my visits on. And
before we go that far, let's talk about Columbia Prep real quick.
Yeah, sure. Columbia Prep was great. I mean, it's funny because President Trump's son went there, which is kind of ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah, but Columbia Prep was really cool because my flute teacher was my basketball teacher. And that's another reason why I went to Guachos, because he Mr. Davis was awesome flute teacher, and he volunteered to be, you know, coach women's basketball. But that was an awesome time to create friendships. You know, like it wasn't really, you know, I didn't know X and O's there. It's like I ran track. I mean, I played volleyball, ran track and basketball, and I switched off my sports. Columbia Prep was a purely academic choice of my parents. And I loved the school. It was right in the city. It was a great school. You know, I had fun there. And then my dad wanted me to be closer to him. And that's why I went to Riverdale, which was in the Bronx and closer to Guachos. And, you know, I'm the only child, so they had to just want to put their hand on me whenever they wanted. You know, again, I don't know, when people say they have this leeway in picking, that is not my testimony. My parents,
they made those choices for you at a young age.
Yeah. Rightfully so. Yeah. So, you know, yeah, that's my story.
So talk about, you know, the 2 years at Riverdale.
Yeah, I spent 3 years at Riverdale. I left.
After your freshman year.
Yeah, 10th, 11th. Riverdale was great. It was a great school, big school. You know, Calvin Hill went there, and when I heard that he went there, that was another reason why I picked that school. It was great academically. You know, it was really interesting. It was cool. I mean, if you've ever been to Riverdale's campus, it's like a college campus. You know what I mean? And it's for me, again, education was key. And they're one of the top, if not, I mean, I think it's the most expensive private school. But it's one of the top education school that I could get. I mean, it was hard because I think some of my teachers don't understand that playing basketball is a full-time gig. You know what I mean? They didn't understand that I wasn't just playing on my team. I was playing AAU. I had to try to keep my grades up. You know,
Right.
I had a boyfriend, first love. My parents were strict. Like, it was a lot going on, you know. But Riverdale, I have to say, Riverdale Country School, I had one guy, you know, it was a Black middle school, head of school, Milton Sip, that just, I'm so happy he was there. You know, whether the headmaster or, you know, it was good to have that one person there. So I had a great child. And then when I broke the records, they were really awesome. I mean, television would easily come up there. It was fun, man. That was, I mean, the 90s in New York City, we had awesome rap music. We had an awesome I mean, we were in the club literally at that age. Like, come on, basketball was on fire. Like, it was the best absolute time to be in New York City, to go to the school that I go to play where I played, and to be just a young girl in the city. It was, come on, man. It was awesome. I bumped into Biggie Small. Remember, it was the 125th Street Market. Like, you know, that was New York back then. You know, you play at night, you know, all night long. You know, well, I had to come home. Like, my parents were the ones that, you know, came to scoop me home. But still, it was just great. You know, it was one of those best childhood ever, really.
So I see that you went to Glen Falls your junior and senior year.
Yeah.
Did you guys end up winning the state championship both
we
years?
Won, yeah. I don't remember. I think we went 3 years. We won 2. I don't know if we won the first year. I know that we won the year I took the record. I don't remember, man. A long time ago. But we did win one. What championship? I know we won the Ivy League, and we won our league when we went up there. It was nice. That was interesting. Little time.
So, did you ever get to play against Sue Bird? Because I know that you guys were in the same high school class.
Yeah, no. Sue and I played on the same team, actually. So I played for another team called Liberty Bells. And Sue and I,
shout out to the Liberty Bells.
Yeah, Liberty Bells. We were teammates for a while. We were friends when we were younger. We played together. We were in the starting squad, so we never really played against each other. And then when she went to Crest King, Riverdale never played. I think they're Catholic school league, so we never really played. And Sue never really played in the city, like in the, you know, like in the streets. So she was.
Oh wow.
She played Liberty Bells, which was an AAU team, good AAU team, which I played as well. But I also played in the city. You know what I mean? So no, I didn't really. But shout out to Sue, man. Her career. She's still playing. My knees can even look at a court right now. Nah, wow. Man. Sue and I, we played on the same team together. Yeah, for many years, like 3-4 years, something like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned you had a boyfriend at the time. Like, your parents, did you have to hide him from them?
Good friend. Well, I did hide him for a while, but interestingly enough, he had a newspaper article in the Daily News, and he mentioned that I was his girlfriend. So my dad was like, "Excuse me," like he played football. John Michael Raswell. He played football, and he has an extensive, like, his mother is, I think, Jacqueline Onassis' sister or something like that, and his father was the prince related to the Onassis, something like that. So anyway, so he had a newspaper article, and they found out. And I was like, "Oh, is that what they said, Dad? I don't know." But it wound up, John and my dad actually met. John Michael Raswell, which is funny, came up to the Bronx, met my dad. Really, really nice gentleman. Yeah, he's my high school love. Yeah.
Shout outs to John. Well, if he ever sees this, shout outs to him.
Yeah, right.
He's like, you talking about old memories.
Yeah, I know, right? By high school, it's funny how you look back at, you know, I mean, New York City, we grow up fast, you know. We have definitely cool memories. I love my childhood. I had a great childhood. So
indeed. So I believe you were talking about, you know, your college choices when you were in high school.
Yeah. So it was Duke, Georgia Tech, Virginia, Notre Dame, Stanford, I forget. I think that's it. UNC, Rutgers, and Oh my God, I forgot. No, and then the Ivy Leagues, I did the Columbia just for my parents. But yeah, I mean, I loved, Gaucho's connection was strong with Georgia Tech. My dad knew Bobby Crimmon's brother. I knew Steph. Lou, that's my whatever people say about Lou's my guy. You know what I mean? With me, he was always cool Lou. And he gave permission, for me to play. And I had to go to Lou and Dave and stuff and said, hey, you need to start a girls program. And I went in and I got my coach, Walter Welch, was the first girls coach at Guachos, because I went into it, and I have to give Lou a lot of credit, and Wendell Walter a lot of credit, because they listened. They're like, all right, you want a girls team? Fine. Who's the coach? But it took a lot of courage for me to do. And it also I was really thankful that they were receptive, because we needed a girls team for the Gauchos, Shout out to Walter Welch, one of the
shout out to Walter Welch and Lou de Almeida.
Yeah, man. Luisito.
So talk about, you actually made your announcement to commit to Georgia Tech at Madison Square Garden. What made you decide to go to good old Georgia Tech?
Well, I was playing, it's a tournament, and I just had sprained my ankle, and it was a lot of pressure at that point in time, because I didn't sign early. And it was a relief. It was down to two, it was down pretty much to two schools. I think it was Virginia and Georgia Tech. And I love Stephon Marbury. I mean, he was like Kenny Anderson, Stephon Marbury, and was it not John Paxson? What's the other guy? Mark Price. All the New York guys that played for Tech. I always kind of, this is like, I could be the, that PG, that guard too, and the visit. Once you go to Notre Dame and you sit your foot in 2 inches of snow, or you got to take a 5-hour flight to California, or you got to go to cold Virginia, you go in Atlanta and you see a black mayor, you see black police officers, black doctors, and they, it was like, they had Olympics stuff to me. You see all that, you're like, I belong here,
Mm-hmm.
And I always loved technology. I always, it was a great opportunity for me during high school. I got exposed to computers early on. At Columbia Prep was my first computer course. So I always really had a love for technology and computers. So it was really awesome that at the end of the day, I knew kind of what I wanted to do, so Georgia Tech it was, yellow jackets.
What's funny? While that last day of me being in Atlanta, yeah. I stopped by this place called the Trap Music Museum. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I heard of it. I haven't been.
Yeah, it's in the Bluff.
Yeah.
But yeah, after I left that, I wound up walking, because I was trying to find Cookout, the restaurant.
Right.
And I actually stumbled onto Georgia Tech's campus.
Yeah, isn't it beautiful?
Fortunately, it was closed, but I still got to walk around it a little bit. I'm like, wow, this place is huge. You guys got the Coca-Cola building around it.
Yeah.
When everything opens back up again, I want to go see the arena.
Yeah, it's dope. I have to, because it's not as big as Georgia, and it's right in the city. And being from the city, sometimes you go to these campuses, they're stuck in the middle of nowhere. But this was a very city-fied university, university. And it was for me, when I came down here, it was just, we had a ball. It was really one of the best recruiting visits I've heard. You're young, you're a kid, it was really good. And again, it was something that my parents, definitely was one of the schools that they agreed to. So
they didn't have no objections to that at all.
Yeah.
But while you were in college, did you ever get to visit the black colleges on the other side of town?
The interesting part is I have a great respect for them now. But while I was there, not so much. Morehouse, of course, Morehouse men, you date a few of those, but you're really, you're in your own bubble. You kind of got the ACC schools, you're playing basketball, and you're in the city of Atlanta. So normally we didn't really go to their campuses, but quite often you'd find the Black people would come to our campuses because there wasn't that many, you know what I mean? And most of the athletes, we hung out with each other. So I think we had a lot of, what is it? I want to say Clark and Georgia State. No, we hung out. But yeah, I mean, as I got older, I realized the significance, the importance, and also just the love I have for HBCUs. You know, you kind of live in a bubble when you go to school. You know, you're surrounded by athletes anyway. But yeah, no, I love them.
So talk about, you know, your freshman year at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, well, I was killing. It took me about 6 games to get used to coming from a private school where we didn't really practice that much. So going to a system, when I got used to it, I led the league in scoring my freshman year. I had a great breakout year. It was tough though. ACC, we had great players. I mean, some of the greatest players I think ever that we played against that first year, and it was interesting. It was tough, but I got through it, and I killed. That was one of my best years, my first year. After I think it was like 6 games, but I led the league in scoring, and I was top 3 in assists, rebounding, and steals. So it was a really good year, good breakout year.
So and you guys, you were the reigning ACC Rookie of the Year.
Yep, I was ACC Rookie of the Year. I was Georgia Naismith Player of the Year. I was All-American. I got a lot of awards that year.
That's crazy.
I cleaned up. Yeah, I cleaned up.
And then you got to participated to play for USA Basketball. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Try out for USA Basketball.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was great. I was the youngest person invited to USA Basketball at that time, and it was great. It was a really awesome experience. It was right after everything happened with me and loving basketball, so I went out there, and that was just really interesting to go. It was nice. I didn't particularly like Colorado. You couldn't breathe out there, but staying in, I think, Olympic Village and doing all that kind of stuff was really great. I loved it.
Now you just mentioned something about loving basketball.
Yeah.
So you were supposed to be in the movie.
I got the part. Yeah, I'm gonna write an article on that. I got the part. I flew out there. I auditioned, and got the part. And the NCAA said no, and we had to choose. Because at that point in time, it was either you lose your eligibility, or you lose your eligibility, or not, or go and do the movie. So then they tried to say, okay, they wouldn't pay me, and I get paid per diem, and then NCAA said I couldn't do any press for the movie. And
that's whack.
Yeah, it was so terrible. That of everything, you know, because I love the movie. I love Gina Prince Spiderwood. She did a great job. She wrote such a magnificent script. It wouldn't matter. I mean, clearly it didn't. But that was an opportunity that I did get the part. And shout out to Spike Lee. Spike Lee really, he really went the back for me to try out, or for me to get it, because he was like, yo, she can play, she can act, what's up? But the NCAA just wouldn't do it. So
damn.
Yeah.
Should have been you.
Yeah, I'm saying,
and
right?
That's Sanaa Lathan. Sanaa Lathan's a wonderful actress.
Yeah, she's all right. She's good, but still, I know what you mean. Because, like, she didn't play. She couldn't play, but she did a good job for an actress. You know what I mean? Because ultimately,
she sold it.
Yeah, ultimately, that script was so dope because it was written by a former athlete. And, you know, Gina Prince Spiderwood is a talented woman. So it was, you know, it did well. But for a female athlete, it would have been dope just to have a real athlete, you know what I mean, doing it. So I get it, but you know, things happen, life, right?
I mean, they couldn't get Lisa Leslie. She was too tall for Omar Epps.
Yeah, it was. They auditioned a lot of people, and it came down to me and Sanaa. So
wow. Mm-hmm. Well, so then 2000 comes.
So I came in. My year after that, fourth game. I worked so hard, but fourth game I tore my ACL. And when I tore my ACL, it was my first. Well, no, because I had an injury before that, but it was a major injury for me. It was really rough. So I missed a whole year, and I came back, and then we had another. I came back that second year, my redshirt. I guess my redshirt sophomore year would be called, and it went good. It went really good. And I did well that second year, but the problem was after that we got a new coach, and she was quite horrible. And it was just a bad situation. So
this was I'm sorry. Yeah. So 2000, 2001, you had another successful season.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then the following year, like, what happened?
It was, we got a new coach. You know, she was pretty terrible. And I mean, that's really all I got to say about it. She was just a horrible individual. She should never coach or teach any kids again. And I left the team. And, you know, did a bunch of other things. Started a couple movies. After that, commercial, did all that kind of stuff. Ultimately started doing reporting and went back to Georgia Tech to finish. But that was my last year at college basketball.
Yeah. So basically, you left school after you left the team?
Yeah. I left school.
Wow.
That's why I had to go back, because she was it was really terrible. It was a harrowing experience for me. You know, just to be sexually harassed by my coach, you know, at like 19, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, you look at these adults. I'm a woman now, right? But at that point in time, I was 19 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
you know, so no, I left and did then I played overseas for a while. I did get signed to New York Liberty. I played with them, and then I got hurt. And then I left that, and then I had a lot of injuries. So like after my ACL, I had MCL tear. Then I broke my sesamoid bone. Then I tore my quad. Then it was like every year there was something else. You know what I mean? And so I was like, you know what? I need to retire. And so that's it. I retired, and went to technology.
Well, what I will say about what you did about a year and some change ago, I applaud you for speaking out against that coach.
Yeah.
And also giving your former teammates the courage to speak out too.
Yeah.
That was big right there. Because it's like a lot of, like, when stuff like that happens, they would only think that usually a guy would do stuff like that, but never a woman. You know.
And that's what's awkward about it. You know, to be honest with you, I was working out with my trainer in my gym, and the news came on, and how it went down was, I was like, and it was the coach on there, and the subtitles said that she was trying to sue Georgia Tech and going against the team. And I remember not having a voice at that time. And a couple of young girls wrote me afterwards, and they were like, thank God, because no one believed this, that she was terrible. And, and of course, when I went public, she didn't, I was like, because at that point in time, I was like, bring it. I got my lawyers. I got, I'm not a little kid anymore.
Right.
Subsequently, she got fired. And the girls are doing better now. But yeah, it was time. And I felt, to be honest, I felt a little guilty, because I felt like I was the first one. And if I would have had the courage back then, maybe it wouldn't have happened. Because I mean, if you look in her history, she threw a book or something. She got in an argument with her coach, that they had a lawsuit with that. She had about 30 girls transfer in just like 10 years of coaching. Like, she was a mess. This woman was a terrible person. And they just let it go on and go on, because the old athletic director happened to be her ex-girlfriend, So it was just a lot
of,
it was such a lot of things that, was going on. And I was in Europe. I was in California. I didn't know what was going, I didn't know what was going on at Tech until I saw that. And I was like, it's not right. You know what I mean? It's not right. Those girls.
Like, time to come forward.
Yeah, it wasn't right. And I understand, victims. I couldn't say anything at that time, because I'm Caribbean. You don't do that. And it was just growing up, and it was just, as a woman, it was just so terrible, at that time. But it's over now, so. Yeah,
when you come from certain countries, when your parents are from certain countries, you're raised to basically stay silent with certain things. Like, you're not raised with a voice.
Or that something will happen.
Right.
Like, I have 12 uncles. I'm Caribbean. You don't mess with kin, So this is a lot of reasons why I didn't. And also, I was 19.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I was a little girl. So I was a young woman. So, but anyway, it's all good though.
Yeah. So you also did some modeling.
Yeah, I did modeling when I was younger.
King Magazine.
No, that was when I got older. I didn't get. Oh. No, I was. When I was when I signed with the Liberty, that's when I did that right before, because it's like my coming out issue. Hey, shout out to Dayton Thomas. No, that was like totally. I did modeling when I was younger. My whole thing was, I loved the shoot. It was really fun. I'm definitely, I'm Caribbean free with my body. It's my culture. And it was a good shoot. Too bad I broke my sesboy bone and I left the team. Like, that was annoying. But it was a good shoot though.
So like, how did it feel to finally step on the court again with the Liberty after everything that happened in college?
It was great. It was definitely something that I fought hard to do. When I signed a contract with them, when I signed a contract playing in Spain, it was great. My problem was it just kept on getting injured. And there's a point in time that an athlete, especially with me, like my goal was always to get an education anyway. It wasn't an issue, but you just have to know when to stop playing. You know what I mean? Like your body, my physical body couldn't take it. Like every single year I played, there was a major injury. We're not talking about a sprained ankle, whatever. We're talking about broken noses, torn quad muscles, torn groins, broken ankles. It was always an issue. So it is what it is. So I was happy that I did my goal, and then I just didn't want to fight anymore with my body breaking down. You know what I mean? At 25 years old, you just don't want to continue to fight and fight and fight. So yeah, I hung it up after that, and I went to broadcasting. So, which was lovely. I stayed a part of the game. It was really nice, but yeah, I had to get out the court. My knees were hurting. My knees hurt now as I'm talking to you. So.
So, you worked for CBS, TMZ Sports, and you were a sideline reporter for the Hawks. Like, talk about making that transition from being on the court to being a member of the press.
Well, you just see things in a different light, in the sense that, I see who's running things really. It's great. I think I encourage students to continue their education while they're playing. I've always done that. So it was an easy transition for me, and it was nice. Interestingly enough, I love being around the game, but I love technology even more, so I did it for a few years. But I really wanted to start my own company and teach kids tech using sports. So yeah, it was, come on, you're meeting Shaq, Charles Barkley, one of my favorite guys is Ernie Johnson. He's like my mentor. I love him.
Shout out to Ernie Johnson.
Yeah, Dennis Scott got me my first job. That's like that. He was like, when I first met him, I was like, oh my God, this Dennis Scott. Hi, Mr. Scott. He's like, girl, I know you. What's up? It's always cool when you play basketball. You have a certain level of brotherhood, sisterhood with people, and it was wonderful. They respect you, you respect them, and you keep it moving. It was great. I loved covering, sports in general, professional, college. It was awesome. So I also covered my school too. I also covered Georgia Tech, which is great, coming in as a reporter. So, really awesome.
Someday I hope to cover pro basketball, because now I'm covering high school basketball, college basketball. Unfortunately, these days, things are different up here in New York.
Yeah.
As far as coverage of high school sports, like, it's definitely not like it was back in your high school years. Like now, I think the Daily News, they did away with covering high school sports, and so did the Post.
Wow.
Unfortunately, like
Daily News, that was the jam. Like what? Really?
New York Times also.
Yeah.
But to be in the New York Times, you have to do something spectacular.
Wow. Well, that was always the
New York Times.
New York Times is always spectacular like that.
Yeah, Newsday, they only cover Long Island. Like, so media in New York City has changed, unfortunately.
Wow.
And the kids don't really have an outlet to be seen other than, videos.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
I never really knew that. I've been out to city so long, but that's a shame, because it was a shame. It created a brotherhood. It was cool. I remember the dinners, the Daily News dinners. That's when I first met Shamika Holsclaw. I met Lamar Odom. Like, it was just great to have those dinners that bring us all together. That's unfortunate. I'm sad about that.
We don't have that anymore for our kids.
Oh man.
But honestly, it is what it is. Like, we're in a digital world now. I think what's happening with, they say that print media is a dying industry, which is true. Because they had to get rid of a lot of the Post and the Daily News. They had to do away with high school sports. They had to lay off a lot of people. So once that happened, high school sports was basically it went digital. There's some websites now, but now you see a lot more cameras out there than editorial.
Right. It might come. I think there's a comeback. I'm betting
I
that
hope so.
there is, I just think you have to find unique ways to present an old way.
Right.
That's all what we do anyway. We recycle things, like all digital media is a newspaper put on steroids. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
All movie is black and white pictures put in steroids. So you just have to find a way, because we still crave, information. So I just think what I do believe doesn't work is keeping old ways the same, right? And trying to make things work. Like, of course, you can't sell a newspaper for, $2, $3 when you can just press a button to see it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, there's just ways to do it. I mean, but the subscription model of a website is doing well. Like SaaS products are doing well. So you think if people can figure, it's just at different price points. You know what I mean? So I feel like there's a way, but you just have to be creative about it. So we'll figure it out.
So you also starred in She Hatin'.
That's a Spike, man. I love Spike. Spike's one of my favorite directors.
Mine's too.
Ever. He's just the man. He gives actresses and stuff their first break. He gave me my first break. I mean, my thing was, I just love technology. That was what I wanted to do. Every now and then, I love movies. I trained with one of the best acting coaches. His name is Bill Esper in New York City. So I trained really well. I graduated from their program, and I love movies. So yeah, if I can do a movie, sure, no problem. It's just I'm not gonna do the typical acting stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But man, I do love Spike. Yeah, he that was one of those really cool. He calls me up. He has my number. He ran, yo, where you at? All right, you gonna come down here, do this. I always gotta work for him though. Like Spike makes me work. Like it was like I did some kind of, I forgot. He was like, I gotta volunteer. I was there like 4 a.m, moving chairs because he has something in Brooklyn. So he's like, you don't work. And they'll call me and be like, oh yeah, we got this part for you. So, it's cool though. I love Spike. He's cool.
And a lot of people may not know this, but the reason why I named Dave's Joint was in part because of his store. Okay. They used to have in Brooklyn, Spike's Joint. But the only thing is my name flows better than his.
Yeah. I like you. I told you I was a fan. I was like, I always check out your stuff. Hopefully one day we can work together. I love your stuff. Because I'm a New Yorker all day. So I do definitely appreciate people that have the old memorabilia. It's kind of nice.
Indeed, me too. But yeah. So I definitely need to see She Hate Me again.
you go all the way to the my things were cut until the end. You see me at the end. Be like, oh, but don't blink because you might miss me.
Yeah, that guy with all those babies, man.
All those babies, baby mamas. Yeah.
Kim Hampton was in the movie.
Yeah.
I loved her parts with him.
Yeah.
I love.
She's awesome.
So you were also in, I guess, the first ever LeBron James commercial with Nike.
Yep. Yeah. That was one of the best because that was a Bernie Mac commercial.
Oh, the church one.
Yeah.
I love that one.
Yeah, that was so awesome. I saw Pee Wee Kirkland, Joe Hammond. Like, these are all dudes that my dad, I was like, Dad, I met Joe Hammond. He's like, what? You met Joe Hammond? Like, it was really cool because there's a lot of New Yorkers in there. LeBron was cool. Everybody was just really it was a big family. His boys were there. I mean, it was all really nice. It was really cool.
Rest in peace, Bernie Mac.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
So you were at 10 years old. You were selling T-shirts.
That was my first company. We had a play called 1,000 Dances or something like that, and I wanted to be a part of the play. I was a part of the play, but I was always the youngest person. And anyway, the music teacher said that we all had to have the same T-shirts, the same color T-shirts. And so everybody was going around, sometimes they didn't have their shirts, whatever. It wasn't organized. So I, back in the day, was it Canal Street or something? My dad used to always take me downtown to get some stuff. And so I made a T-shirt for myself and I put like glitter on it and it was really cool. And I made a T-shirt for my best friend and she had one, I had one. And people were like, we want one. And I was like, $10. And so I don't know what happened, but I got like 5 orders or 10 orders. And then I was like, Dad, I need to get more T-shirts. He's like, for what? I was like, I'm selling these t-shirts for our play. And then the next day, what happened, like the next day in school, I remember, then everybody was like, no, Nisha's doing the t-shirts. I'm like, you got to give me my money. And so my dad was like, okay, you got to work. This is your thing. So he took me down there. He got my supplies and they helped me. And they actually made me pay them. I had to pay them half of my money coming in. But I remember my dad was like, you've always, been an entrepreneur. You always want to start things. And he was like, your first, and I forgot about that. He was like, your first company is, he didn't count my chores, but I used to do extra chores for money just to save up. Because I wanted the pump 'em up sneakers and the super soaker gun. So my parents did a great job. They were like, okay, well, you have the bare necessities. You eat, you have clothes, you're good. If you want some other stuff, you got to work for it. So because I had to work for it, I had to find ways of extracting money out of them and other people. So I sold t-shirts. I sold t-shirts, and that was really the cool. I did the whole crew, so that was really cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you actually founded a company called Ballin Technologies. Talk about that.
Yeah. Well, Ballin Technologies is my nonprofit. My company is called Scrap Sports, and Scrap Sports is basically I want to create the world's largest sports scrapbook. So we're building that out. I'm a developer. Me, a couple of people were building out first, the back end of it. Actually, when it's finished, I will be reaching out to you, see if you want to come on board with some stuff. And basically, we just want to have a collection of things just to make it easier to find and to search and to talk. And like, for example, if you want the show, you have this one niche that you shouldn't have to work so hard to find people. Like they should just go to basketball in New York City and should find you. So we're trying to create an infrastructure to support, the world's largest scrapbook. So we're building that out. In the process of that, since everything, because COVID sort of stopped, I've always had a passion for technology. And I've noticed that kids, especially our kids that look like me, Latina, Black people, we really need to focus on tech. We really need to focus on the future. And I want to be one of those teachers to help kids. I realized there was a disparity. So when I went to Columbia Prep, I had a computer course, I think in like 7th grade, I want to say, or 8th grade, my teammates, at Milbank or at Guachos didn't even know what a computer was, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't start with expecting someone to graduate and to go into computer field, but you didn't start them off early with simple principles. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that somebody is smarter than the other person, is that they've been doing it at a longer time and it's easier. You know what I mean? So my nonprofit is going to expose kids to STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And what we want to do is that we realize there's a disparity in representation. So there's not a lot of Black male, Black female teachers teaching these kids. And sometimes kids feel more comfortable. They know that, oh, you can do it, you can do it. So we're in the process of raising money. So I've been teaching coding for the last 5 years. And I volunteered and I had some kids come. The problem that we're finding, why I had to start the company, is that some of these kids would come with tablets, but they didn't have computers. Or you can't do these codes on phone. You have to have a computer. So I was like, let's get organized behind this. I know people will get behind it. And we started the nonprofit to do that, to raise money, to start teaching them. I'll be launching, I'll tell you about it, a class in the end of August, just for an after school program where they can learn technology, coding, through their love of sports. So the idea is that I think everybody who plays a sport is an intelligence. You can't just play, don't let anyone tell you, these kids who are playing sports are not intelligent. It's a form of intelligence, right? Like leadership, multitasking, discipline, focus, all that kind of stuff goes into playing a sport. All that kind of stuff is needed to be a coder. All that kind of stuff is to have a career in technology or mathematics or engineering. It's the same thing. So I want to integrate that. I want to do a better job of teaching our kids young that they can go into, technology through their love of sports. So those are my companies.
So what did it feel like going back to Georgia Tech and finishing out your degree? And when did you do it?
Well, I recently lost my mom, and before she passed away, she was just like, you're going back to graduate. you know that, come on, you know, and she was just like, promise me. And I promised her, amongst some other, a bunch of things. But you know, I mean, I was always going to graduate. That wasn't an issue. It was just at a point in time I had to heal from tech. You know, I had to heal from that terrible coach, that terrible experience. I had to heal. I had to grow up. You know, there's a bunch of things I had to do as a human being first. And I promised my mother, period. So I was going to go. It was tough. I was in school. I had a full-time job. I was taking care of her. Like, it was very tough. But, you know, for me in my life, I had to do it. You know, I'm getting my master's anyway, so I'm getting my MBA. It's just hilarious. Like, I just at a point in time that is what I wanted to do, you know, so.
You know, shout outs to you. You did that.
Yeah.
You did that.
It was interesting. It was really tough, but yeah, I did it. And my dad is laughing because, like, you're getting your master's. I'm like, yeah. He's like, seriously? He's like, oh. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, we were telling you for years to go back to school. Now you want your master's? So they're really proud, you know. But my funny part is, I think parents just want you to be okay. You know, they want you to find your way. They just want you to do what you're happy, and they want to make sure your life is good and you're happy. You know what I'm saying? And I think we all, at the end of the day, we want the same things. You know what I'm saying? And I think me having a way to give back, like, I can't wait to, like, I plan on training kids through my nonprofit and have them work for me for my main company. And I can't wait to, like, somebody in my hood or from New York or whatever is working under my company in the technology field, that I help them think that they can do it. You know, I've had great mentors and people that help me, you know, along my road. So I can't wait to do that. It's just, I'm excited to do that. So.
Well, this is a question that I love to ask people,
right,
my guests, before I lead up to the final question.
All right.
So, if you could go back to, in a time machine to 1998, what would you tell Niesha?
Yeah.
Sorry. What would you tell Niesha at 18?
That's a great question. Do the movie. Yeah, that's it. I just think that the only thing that I say that I probably would have wanted to do is the movie, because I graduated a few years ago anyway, you know. That's it. You know, I think that all of my bumps along the road has helped me be the woman that I am today. I think that fortunately I had the leeway to be a young woman that grew into a grown woman. You know, I think the problem is sometimes, especially people of color, don't have that leeway. You know, their life choices, you know, if they make a mistake at 19, it could follow them for the rest of their lives. You know, I've been blessed that I've made mistakes for sure. And I've grown and I've been able to mature. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I mean, I lost my mother early. I think she passed away at 50. So there's no amount of time, you know, but my mother and I were road dogs. Like, she followed me to Atlanta. You know what I mean? Like, I had 1 year here. She was here the next year. Like, what's up? You know, so you know, it wasn't like when she passed, it was like, I wish I would have spent more time. You know, of course you wish you would spend more time, but she knew I loved her. We had a relationship, you know, a great mother and daughter relationship. My dad and I, that's my best friend, you know. So I'm very good at my relationships that mean something to me in my life, protecting them and keeping them. You know what I mean? And I think that's for me, for my life, you know, your happiness, your peace of mind is important. You know, yeah, I just think, you know, maybe got in technology earlier, but you know, you have to go through that awakening, you know, as a human being, especially for me as a woman. I mean, I lived in New York, California, Florida, Europe, Spain, Aruba. I mean, I've lived places. I'm bilingual. I have friends. I have family. Like, I don't know. 1998 was a great year. Maybe I would have went to like a Biggie Smalls concert because I didn't know he was going to die, or maybe a Tupac concert, you know, like stuff like that.
Right.
Like more experiences. But man, I definitely lived, I'm living now. So yeah, that's probably what I say. Mm-hmm.
So final question, what's next in the future for Niesha Butler and Ballin Technologies?
Yeah, well, hopefully, first and foremost, let's get through this COVID. I mean, like that, this is real life and death. Like we're going through something that, 1918 plague or whatever, like we are experiencing something that's unprecedented in our lifetime in a couple of generations. So I would say live healthily, right? Like that's like number one. I pray for my family, my friends, our country, our world, everybody. Like we need to actually live life now. Like if finding your peace and your center and your core and what are you here to put on hasn't been more at the center of your life now, I don't know when it's going to be, right?
Mm.
So my first is just really loving who I'm with, loving my family, loving myself, and helping others. And I'm doing that through my company. Like my main company, Scrap Sports, we have to figure that out because, there's no new sports. And Ballin Technology, I can't wait to teach my first online course. So I've taught several courses in person, but man, it's going to be good seeing that, what young coder can I spark? You know what I mean? To be the next, athlete turned coder thing. I'm looking forward to affecting those in a positive way to go into technology through their love of sports. So that's what I want to do.
Niesha, thank you for coming on to
sure.
share your testimonial.
Yeah,
and I wish you and Ballin Technologies nothing but the best moving forward.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Bye.
Well, everybody, shout outs to Niesha Butler for coming on. This is episode 57 of Hoops Talk with Dave's Joint. For those of you guys from New York City, Brooklyn, Washington Heights, Incarnation School, Columbia Prep, Riverdale, and those in Atlanta from Georgia Tech, or if you're supporters of Ballin Technology, and also Spike Lee, if you ever see this.
He might.
Check this out on YouTube, Facebook, and IGTV. Everybody stay blessed, stay safe. Peace.